All right, good morning. Good morning.
Good
Happy
morning.
Monday.
Woo!
Woo, it's Monday. I kind of feel like I blinked and the weekend ended.
Yeah, I think
Anybody else? Yeah. Uh-huh. I was a little bit like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm awake now and it's Monday and I'm on like my third cup of coffee. So
I
at 9 o'clock in the morning.
need to start.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I'm like, how many more can I drink? Um, well, today we are talking about messaging. My name is Jillian Conley. I'm the VP of Marketing and Communications and Strategies for CEO Consulting Group, and I'm here with my project manager and essentially assistant marketing director. This is Chloe.
Hi, everybody.
If you work with us, she is the one who helps us organize all of our projects and helps with communication and streamlining our efforts through form building and implementation on projects. And she is like the glue that holds us together. So we appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us this morning to talk about messaging.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
So, well, today we're going to talk about defining your message, making sure that your message is strong, making sure that it is tangible, something that people can like relate to, connect with, something that is not cookie cutter. Doesn't sound like Chat GPT, should sound like an individual brand, authentic, personal. And we're going to talk about um, messaging that has forward momentum for your brand, meaning call to action is prevalent and known. You're not constantly guessing, and you're ensuring that all of the pieces of the communication are written out in a way that drags people through the messaging and into that button response booking a call. So we're going to deep dive some messaging with you today. So Chloe, do you want to get started?
Sure. So I will start with my question I have here. So messaging can mean different things to different people. How do you define powerful messaging and why does it matter for women entrepreneurs specifically?
That's a really good question. I need more coffee. Okay. Okay, that is a great question. So I think for messaging to be powerful or impactful, it needs to emphasize a couple of key things. It needs to be very clear.
Hmm.
Confusing messaging will detract people if they don't know where to click to get what they want, if they don't know how to find the information, if they read the information and there's so many typos they can't understand it, or whatever the situation is, the clarity of it is going to be a really important piece. And then there's the consistency factor, meaning you're able to show that message in multiple places in a clear and concise way. So, for example, maybe your messaging needs to be defined when you, let's say you have an event coming up and you write a description for your event. Well, you also need to think of a description for your save the date, for your actual invitation, for your social media post, for your cover photo for your event, for the description of your event, for the description on your page that you're making them sign up and register in that banner. Every part of your digital experience, and if you do actual like mailed invitations, all of that needs messaging. And imagine how confusing it would be if they get that messaging and every one of the pieces look completely different. There was no consistency in the branding, there's no consistency in what it looked like. And then the messages were inconsistent. Some said that it was a formal event, some said that it was a casual event, bring a friend, like random information because different people worked on it. I don't know. And then you go to hand that to the community or whoever you're inviting to this event, and people are like not buying, and you're like, why aren't people buying? Well, you can't have confidence in your messaging if what you are providing is inconsistent and unclear. So when it comes to defining strong messaging, something that's powerful, I would say starting with clarity, consistency, and of course, confidence that you know what you're talking about, and being willing to slow down before you speed up, and writing your messaging, knowing that, okay, I need to say this many times for this many messaging pieces, and then write it all in one document. Like, don't make it so hard that you piece everything together. Write it all in one document. And I think the reason why it matters for women entrepreneurs, um, messaging matters for everyone. It matters for your character and for your self brand. It matters for your business. It matters for your social media presence. It matters for your in person. It's just, it matters. Women are at a unique disadvantage in the entrepreneurial world where we're still bridging the gap between trust of what, who is trustworthy in the marketplace. And so being able to have a clear message that is consistent and emphasizes your authority and emphasizes your trustworthiness as a brand and pulls them through your brand in a way that is not confusing. Like, you don't feel like you're on a weird first date. Like, you can't tell if they like you or not. You're really not sure where to go. You don't want that energy when they're meeting your brand for the first time on your website. You don't want them to feel like they're on a weird first date with you, right? And so having a chance to talk about what sets you apart, your value proposition, your authority building position, and then presenting that to the community is going to help women get ahead in the market, because there's a lot of laziness in messaging that we see around businesses. And if women want to stick out, you just have to be more intentional than your competition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
let me check. I want to make sure that I'm not missing anybody on Facebook because I was switching between screens. I just want to make sure we're good here. Okay, we are good. Do you have anything to add to that one, to defining strong messaging?
No, honestly, I think what you said with clarity and consistency is so fair, especially the consistency part, because I know I've gone to many brands before and I'm like, wait, what do you do? What am I doing here? Like I
Mhm.
liked what they posted on social media maybe, and I was like attracted by what they posted, but then I went to their actual brand website to actually follow through on my part as the consumer, and I get
Mhm.
lost. And then that
Right,
causes me to not transact with them at all.
right.
So you're actually losing customers, you're losing people. You may be putting
Mhm.
out one thing that people are really resonating with, but it means nothing if when they get there, they're confused, they're lost, and they're leaving.
Right, absolutely. That's such a good point. Now, for our team, Chloe, for our audience,
Mhm.
Chloe does our copywriting.
Mhm.
And so I want to ask you, how are you able to identify the difference between quality messaging that's on brand and on point and doing what it needs to do versus not as quality messaging that feels like maybe it's written by AI or
Yeah.
has a touch of the cheesiness of inconsistency?
So I would say any good messaging will make me feel something. I know if it's making me feel something, it's making the consumer feel something, whether that feeling is happy, empowered, maybe emotional for some of our nonprofits. Like we do have emotional messaging. That's how it should make some people feel.
Mhm.
We never want to make our people feel angry. So it shouldn't be anything
Mhm.
that's like rage baiting, as the kids call it these days. We don't want to put anything in. Yeah, that's a thing now. So
A
anything
bet
like yeah,
or
bet. Yeah, exactly.
the cap or
No,
whatever. I don't know.
yeah.
I'm
So we
not
don't
that cool.
anything that's like gonna again make people confused or make them question their decision. Um, so
Like
for what
those weird words we were just using.
yeah, exactly. I'm not gonna use those in any of our messaging ever.
Smart.
Um, and if I see it, I'm gonna take it out and replace it with
Bet.
human words.
Just
Yeah.
kidding. Sorry,
Um,
I can't help it. It's my kid's age.
that's I'm sure that's how the marketing is gonna look in 20 years from now. They're gonna be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
anytime we see those old-timey words and sentence structure, we take it out and we replace
Yep.
it. We shorten it up." But
Uh-huh.
now in the
Absolutely.
age we're in, I like things to have a clear structure, sentence flow. It should be conversational. I'll read it
Mhm.
out loud to make sure it sounds like logical when I'm reading it out loud.
Mhm.
I don't
Mhm.
many emojis, a broken up sentence structure. I really don't like that. It shouldn't be like every sentence is an individual statement. It should have a flow.
Right.
And it should flow from
Right.
post to post or from blog to newsletter. Like it should all be consistent. We pick our themes for the month and we kind of break the newsletter and blog and social media out to match all of those themes. And it could
Mhm.
be where we're trying to clarify something about the brand. We're trying to clarify
Mhm.
a process or introduce a product, but it's all consistent across all the media going out.
Right. Absolutely. Such a good response. Isn't she great?
Yeah.
All right. So the next part we want to talk about is I have nothing to add to that. I just feel like that was really well said. The next part is the common messaging mistakes that are made. Um, go for it, Chloe.
Okay. So then I'll ask you, what's one messaging mistake you've seen women entrepreneurs make repeatedly, and how can they end it? So it's a common mistake you've seen.
Mm,
I don't even think we need to say women entrepreneurs. I think we could just say what's common mistake you've seen people make.
yeah. I
Like,
think I see more mistakes in women's messaging in a in-person situation than I do on paper. I think that I find that women tend to be more attentive to details, so you see a little bit of uh, improvement in the amount of information provided. You tend to see the who, what, where, when, why, and how. Not always, not always, but I would say the majority of women are capable at least of filling that piece out consistently. But what they're not capable of doing is standing in front of people with confidence with their messaging and then talking about it without apologizing or getting small or diluting their voice in some way because they're at a BNI and maybe there's mostly men at the table and not a lot of women there. And you can see them disengage or something when you speak or whatever it is that might activate you into that moment of going, oh gosh, like I don't think they're listening or I'm getting, that feeling of getting shrinking, that feeling of getting small. And you can be as clear as you want to be if you're meek and mild when you present your messaging and you're not confident in the messaging you're presenting, people will not hear it. And
mhm,
so, what we were talking about in the first section about clarity, consistency, and confidence, this is one of those places where I would say women don't always do that well in person. They usually do it better in writing, like on paper, digitally. Now, with that being said, I think that there tends to be a sense of either over explaining or under explaining that happens with female entrepreneurs. So, under explaining meaning they'll think that their information is too complex for their audience because maybe they uh, just want the basics on their website or something, but then they're not clearly communicating in the basics. But then in their mind, they've decided that it's too complicated to explain.
mhm,
That I see that a lot in the medical world. I see it with science-based businesses. So like they feel like when they're trying to explain things on their website about their biotesting or whatever it is that they do, they're like, well, that's an industry word, or they're not capable of understanding that, or that's not in, that's inside talk. I don't know, whatever the reason that happens that makes them overgeneralize their messaging. I like to push back and go, let's meet them in the middle. So, like what you were saying a minute ago about connecting with your audience and making sure like I feel something, that I know my messaging is connecting. This is
Mm,
the same thing for your in-person messaging and for your written messaging. Here is, you want to be very clear, concise in what you are saying. You don't want to dilute your messaging by going like, I don't know this right audience, but I just, this is who I am and this is what I do. And yeah, that's it. That's all. That's it. Sorry, thank you.
yeah.
That smallness that happens when we're not confident what we're saying, but if we can really confident just, sit in that space, whatever that space is, and just say, hi, I'm Jillian Conley. I'm the vice president of marketing, and I work for CEO Consulting Group, and we teach women business owners the how to of building sustainable businesses. Next, right? Like it just,
Yeah.
that's it. It's very clear, very concise. You know exactly what we do. And if they want to work with us, they can. Right. And so that messaging, I think, comes across so much better when we stop trying to make assumptions of what people are going to think of us, especially on the in-person side. But if they're going to think about our brand digitally, they're going to think about our brands in person at like a networking event or whatever. We have to remember that we don't want to be too general, because vagueness does not support buyer trust. So you don't want it to be overgeneralized. You don't want it to be so complicated that your constituents or
Mm,
stakeholders can't participate. You want it to give clarity and show you as in like information or educational resource. You want people in that specific industry, you want people to go, oh, I know exactly where I'm going to shop for that. Like the other day, I actually had this moment where I was like, one thing I hate is buying Christmas presents during Christmas time. And I've never gotten ahead of it, but this year I really want to get ahead of it. And I'm not a good gift giver. Gift giving is very stressful to me. And so I have a gift on my counter that I've been meaning to bring to my best friend who lives about 110 miles away from me. So I've not made it to her. So I've had this for like a month sitting on my counter. And it's a mug kind of similar to this one here, but it says on there like, you're my sister, something super cute. This gift right here, the reason why I like it so much, this mug, is because it's handmade. Because the store that I bought it from, I trust them to curate local artisan items that are unique to that community so that I can give them to people that I care about. And that brand trust has been built over a 5-year period. And every time I come to Leesburg, I don't think I've ever missed one trip. I go see Tira Flynn at the Global Local in Leesburg. So if you don't know her, shout out to Tira. We did the business school together. This mug is from her store. It says on the inside, do more of what makes your heart happy. And I also bought one for my best friend that had socks inside of it. And I can't wait to give it to her and to tell her how much I care for her. The reason why I'm sharing this is because for me, there's a buy-in there. There is a sense of understanding of what the brand does, the storytelling piece. So if you walk into the store, these handmade, artisan curated local items have stories with them. Like I have these really cute hand towels for my kitchen, and I've got a couple bags that were, handmade or whatever. And it's just like really neat to think that I can curate something from, I don't know, Brazil, and some artisan up there and someone right here in, Loudoun County, Virginia. And I think that when we don't overgeneralize our message, when we don't get small, when we know our three rocks, our three talking points, and we know our like one sentence elevator pitch, we can walk into any conversation without diluting our message. And that is a power move for a business because we need that confidence.
absolutely. Yeah.
Now,
That's
building on that, Chloe, what's your approach to refining messaging when it feels off? Where should someone start?
So I think that someone should start back at the beginning, the foundation. Look at, so you have your house and you have the frame. Like what is the frame made of? Like you want to match your materials to it. You want to build off of that. You don't want to go and add something that doesn't fit or isn't structurally sound. You want to go back and see what's already there. What can I use? What maybe doesn't apply anymore? Like what needs to be moved around. I mean, if it's not a load bearing wall, it's not your core messaging, then you can take it out. And you'd be
Oh,
like,
that's such a great way to look at it. I love
I came
that.
up with that on the spot. I was really impressed with myself.
Where are all of our innovative
Yeah,
construction ladies out
exactly.
here? We're just gonna kudos you for a second.
Thank
That
you.
was
Thank you.
delightful.
But like it can come out. Like you don't,
Yeah.
if it's not one of the founding principles of your company, it was like maybe a service that you added that maybe didn't work out or maybe just didn't fit. You can take it
Mhm.
out or you can maybe move it to adjust to fit something
Right.
that you're adding or something you want to pivot to. So that's where
Mhm.
I would start. And then also just look at how your customer's been responding to your content or to your messaging over the past 90 days. I would say a 90-day review, if not longer, is more effective. Or if
Yeah.
it's for a campaign, however long you've been running that specific campaign. Um, but see what they're responding to, what they're not responding to, where do you get the most likes, shares, and comments versus not.
Mhm. Right.
And then pivot from there. I always say don't like completely change, be like, oh, well, they're not responding, so let me throw it out the door.
Right, right.
Not
Don't do that. What is that called? Like that reactionary, like don't wreck.
exactly.
Don't wreck.
Exactly. Like you can look at it and be like, wow, this one like didn't work, but this is on the same product and it had a good resonation. What did I do differently between posts? Maybe it's the
Right.
wording. Maybe it was that the other message was more clear and concise. Maybe it was the
Hmm.
graphic. Maybe you used more imagery, like actually using pictures of your actual customers and like people using the product, whereas the other one was a curated graphic that maybe wasn't as personal. So
Right.
that's where I think someone should start and then make those small adjustments and then monitor it for another 90 days, 60, 90 days and see how it does with you making those, to quote Atomic Habits, those 1% changes that make
Yeah.
a big difference.
It really does make a difference. Sometimes you hear people think, like, I'll hear people go, "Oh, it's not fast enough. It's not fast enough." And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa."
Yeah,
Your marketing is a never-ending marathon.
right.
There's no finish line. Unless you're ending your business, there's no finish line. This is a never-ending moving. You're not sprinting. Even if you have the financial resources to sprint, marketing is still the long game
Yeah.
through and through. And the compound effect is probably the most important part of that because what you do today, even if it's 1%, like you were saying, or one literal item a day, to build on something over time, that's 90 and 90 days, if you did it every day. And maybe you only give your marketing 15 minutes a day, but you do that for 90 days. That's a lot of attention to something you've not spent time on at all. And so I definitely think that it's powerful to take the time to be present with your messaging and refining it to make sure it's accurate and it's client forward. Like it's to the audience that's going to be on the receiving end of it for sure. Excuse me. Okay. Um, the next section that we wanted to add into this section 3 is getting personal and authentic. And so I guess Chloe, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll take it away.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. So everyone talks about authenticity. How do you balance being personal and authentic in your messaging without oversharing and still maintaining that professionalism?
Oh gosh. Um, Oversharing is probably my superpower. I'm really good at that. And so, which is it's sarcasm. I mean, I am good at oversharing, but it's not the goal. I think that the thing about messaging that's really important to remember is that getting personal is something that you cannot do if you are not comfortable doing that with yourself. So it's really easy for me to tell the difference between a confident entrepreneur and an insecure entrepreneur when we do messaging. And I know when I've got to have my like mindset hat on versus my marketing hat when I'm talking to people about messaging, because how they present themselves and how they talk about their business is going to tell you every part of their belief system. Not every literal part, but it's going to, for this particular topic, it's going to open up information for you. And the goal is not for us to message in a way that tells every nitty gritty detail of your story. That's not what people are looking for. You have to think about it like storytelling has frameworks. So even in a movie, there's a framework. Like at the minute 13, you have your first, conflict, and at 27 minutes, there's the pivot or whatever. And then there's the fake ending and love, all of that. There's like a framework, and I don't know what it is for movies, but there's a framework for this, and it's predictable. And there's a reason why storytelling has become such an art form, because movies tend to be right at that 90-minute mark because it's a sweet spot for people's attention. It's a sweet spot for people's satisfaction on that storyline, experience. And so when we think about balancing out our messaging between our personal stories and our authentic messaging, compare it to like reading the book is too much information, but watching the movie is really good. But what you're doing is telling the trailer. So it's like you want to show the trailer, which is like identifying your core simplistic messaging so that people understand the how to we teach women business owners the how to of building sustainable businesses. Okay, so that's your trailer. And then in your core messaging, like in your movie, then you've got like the beginning, middle, and end. And there is a conflict, there's a resolution, there's a villain, there's a, whatever, right? There are all these different characters, there's all these different timelines and things that are going to happen. It's predictable. And then there's the book, which is going to describe it in great detail. What we want to do is the movie trailer version, your elevator pitch, pull them into the deeper version, which should be what's on your website or your information pieces that you're providing people. And then from there, you want to, sorry, I got a phone call, it distracted me. Movie trailer, which is your elevator pitch, then your movie, which is your like your website messaging. It's more detailed, but it's not every single thing. And then if they want the book, that's them talking to you. That's the call to action. They're booking a consult with you. So when you think about getting personal, authentic, it's not saying that you're telling a different story. You're not lying about things. You're just not telling every detail that the book would tell. So if that visual is helpful, um, that's how I guess that's how I would recommend it. So what are the key highlights to your story that are relative to your audience for that trust and authority building piece? And then that's your story framework right there. You don't
Mhm.
have to tell all the backstory. People can fill that story in on their own, and they can learn those details with you on a more personal level when they talk to you one on one. So they can build that relationship with you. It's almost like they have to earn that part of it by showing their buy-in to your business as well. Um, let's see. It is 9:32. We still had a couple more questions to ask. Let's skip into the fourth section, and I'm going to ask you a question in this one.
Okay.
Um, can't the fourth section is the messaging and action. So if you have to go, feel free to go finish watching this in a few minutes. We're going to wrap it up in like 5 minutes. So messaging and action. It's about illustrating your messaging in a clear way that provides impact. So it's not trying to think of how to explain the difference. So your your messaging, sorry, your your messaging needs to illustrate the journey that your client's going to go on to so that they can kind of visualize what's about to happen, and then they can determine if that impact is worth their call to action. So that's what we're talking about when we say messaging and action. So Chloe, when a CEO is struggling to distill their messaging into something simple and memorable, what's your best tip to help them?
Um, my best tip would be to go back and reread it as you are a consumer. Kind of put your consumer hat on and think, if I was reading this without having the prior knowledge, would I understand? What would
Mhm.
I get from this? What are the 3 takeaways? Like, what is my call to action? And
Mhm.
is there anything I need to clarify? Is there anything that I should take out? Is there something that can maybe be, quote, unquote, "dumbed down," and
Mhm.
not as over explained? Because you don't want your post to be too lengthy either, because you lose people. Um,
Right.
it's something really personal. I only ever really see that long post style work out with influencers typically, or
Right.
unless the business is doing like a big celebration, like an anniversary. Other times people
Mhm.
they read the first few sentences and then they kind of move on. So how
Right.
can you explain it briefly but clear? Um,
Mhm.
One way to do that is to really focus on the problem solution language. What's the problem? What am I as the consumer facing? Why do I need your product? What's lacking in my life that makes me want to go to your product? And then the solution, which is you explaining your company, explaining your product,
Mhm.
explaining why this is the solution to that problem. Maybe I didn't even know I had, maybe I didn't realize it. Um, I remember I was scrolling on Instagram Reels the other day, and I'm a planner. And I have like I write to-do lists. I had a pretty good system. I write to-do lists, I write out my day schedule. I liked it. And then I was scrolling and I saw this online platform for like day-to-day management. And I was like, I immediately went to the website.
Oh
The
yeah.
marketing was clear. It was concise.
Mhm.
It was a video of somebody actually using the software, which is what got me, is seeing how they put in everything. I was like, oh my God,
Mhm.
that's like what I've been looking for. It's a dashboard for my brain, basically.
It's amazing.
And I went and purchased it because I didn't necessarily know I had a problem, but until I saw it that way, I was like, "Wait, that is actually the better way to management. That's the solution. That's what I want."
Right.
And I
Oh,
pur
I love that.
yeah, I was a total consumer. I purchased it right then and there, and I love it. I like it's an amazing product. It's like project management. I
Mhm.
can organize every aspect of my life. If anybody wants to know what it is, I'm happy to tell you.
Yeah, I
But
know, right?
yeah, I'll get a discount code or something, but,
That's
yeah,
funny.
that would be a good example and, like, just a good way to distill clear messaging, um, for your consumer.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, I'm really grateful for you, Chloe, hopping on and talking with us a little bit about messaging. For those of you who don't know, we do messaging here at
Mhm.
CEO Consulting Group. And the process is really, we're working through the process. The way that it works is we get on Zoom with you and we do like a 2 hour Q&A, and it's really great if you have a team to have more than one person on, because it's interesting for us to be able to hear how everyone answers those questions, listening for like those repetitious words, listening to key phrases, or language not being used, which you're not to use language is just as important to understand as you're to use language in your brand. And so we do that, we record it, we go through and we put together a comprehensive messaging guide, and then we sit and do revisions line by line with you live until we get it all the way figured out down to absolutely what you want and need your messaging to be in both a strategic and strong, clear, and concise way for you to use throughout your brand. So if you need help with that, we do that. So feel free to book a call with me and Chloe, and we'll go take care of you. And if you watch this live, say hello. If you're watching the replay, tell us below. Chloe, thank you so much for hopping on. Oh, if you have not bought your tickets to the CEO Summit, you need to do that.
Yes.
It's coming up. For those of you who don't know, the Women's CEO Summit, we are celebrating our 5th year CEO Summit, and it's going to be a really special one. So we really want you to make sure you buy your tickets and come hang out with us. It's Friday, September, is it 20? What's the day? I don't want to say it wrong. Friday, September 26th. And you can just go to the women's CEO Summit.com. But we'll drop that in the chat for you, and you can get your tickets today before our summer prices go away because the pricing is going up. So don't forget to get your tickets. Come hang out with us. We will be talking a lot more about messaging at the summit, and going in depth and helping you walk away with some tangible things that you can implement into your business. So I hope to see you there. Chloe, thanks for hopping on,
Sure.
and we'll see you all next week. Okay.
Bye.